And I would encourage any parent watching this to do the same, because questions don't hurt, but ignorance does. Hey everyone, Nicole here with another episode of NC Chat. Hope you're having a great Monday. As you can see, I have a new angle and a different camera, so let's see if that's better quality. For those of you who have been following our social media and blogs, you'll probably have noticed that things have been a little heavy over the past little while, so I thought today would be great to lighten up the mood and just have some fun. So, in that spirit, I thought it'd be cool to talk about how I interpret kids and how I feel parents should react when children have questions about people living with disabilities. So, without further ado, let's jump on in. I honestly love children. I just think they're so full of curiosity and good intentions usually. And I think if we had them running our world, it would be a way better place to live. The younger the better. So, when I interact with children, I often get asked a lot of questions, and sometimes they can be really entertaining questions. I imagine to kids I seem a bit different, since if I'm in my power chair, I'm probably in this magic moving machine that they don't get how it works. My limbs are often moving all over the place, and I talk kind of funny to them. So it's natural to me that they have questions, and honestly, I would rather them ask me those questions than to just stare at me or to make their own assumptions about what is going on or what I can or can't do. Now, I understand as parents, kids can sometimes say and do things that are kind of embarrassing because they are not what we would deem socially appropriate. But, from my own experience, I would rather have a child come up to me and ask me questions than to see parents trying to hush them, tell them it's not okay to ask questions, or to even talk about disability at all, or to say, we'll talk when we get home. And the reason for that is I feel it's teaching kids that talking about disability is taboo and not okay, which is problematic for when they grow up because they might not understand folks with disabilities, and therefore they might start to form an othering mentality where they think, oh, I am different than you, so we can't be friends, or stuff like that. So, I love questions, and I'm going to share with you my top 3 favorite interactions I recall with children I didn't know. So first was at a mall I used to go to for music lessons. While I would wait for my ride, I would be sitting outside the little gym where kids took lessons for gymnastics. And for about a year, I would run into one little girl consistently. She often would look at me and smile, but that was it. And then one day, her parents were talking to an instructor, so she walked over to me and said, "Hi, why do you do that?" And I asked her, why do I do what? And she said, "Why do you move like that?" Now, usually I try to give as accurate explanations as possible to kids, but sometimes timing doesn't fully allow for a good discussion. So in this case, I told her, "Well, I'm so happy. I just dance all the time." And she looked at me and smiled and said, "Do you ever stop dancing?" And I said, "No, not really." She asked, "Even in your sleep?" And I said, "Even in my sleep." And then after that, she would always contact me every day before her class, and we began to form a really good relationship that I think may have changed her perception of people with disabilities for the future. The second one I remember is doing a speech at my friend's day camp. I was just talking about what life can be like living with a disability. And then after my speech, I hung out with the kids for the day. They were awesome, and they tried to help me participate in camp activities and even push me around because I didn't have my power chair. But at the end of the day, while we were waiting for parents, 2 little boys decided to try to reenact my birth. So they got a skipping rope to act as the umbilical cord, and one pretended to be me, and one was the doctor, and they pretended to try to turn me around in the room and show the rope getting twisted around my neck, which was entertaining and a bit concerning. So I told them not to tie rope around their necks, but it was cool to see what they had taken away from my talk and how they interpreted it. And then finally, my favorite moment was a little boy at the market who just kept staring at me, and his mom kept encouraging him to either contact me or to stop staring because it wasn't polite. And after lots and lots of coaching, he finally decided to contact me, ask me a couple questions, and then share his entire life with me. And apparently that night he went home and asked lots of questions about people with disabilities. And I imagine that experience really shaped him for the future, or at least I hope so. So I was really impressed that his mom stood her ground, kept inviting him to ask questions and supported him through that process. And I would encourage any parent watching this to do the same, because questions don't hurt, but ignorance does. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you would like to see more. And please leave a comment below with your thoughts on my content today. Thank you and have a wonderful week. Bye y'all!